All right. So we're made aware of an article that was on BuzzFeed talking about work scams. They had a list of 25, actually had a couple bonus ones. So believe that there's more than 25 things that employees don't like that employers do that needs to be stopped from normalizing.
So this is a view from the employee, not the employer.
That is correct. That is
All right.
correct.
Let's
So,
see what
for
you got.
example, we have someone who says employers need to stop normalizing, discouraging talking about how much money you make. And the quote here is, it's literally only a tactic to keep workers from comparing notes and establishing financial fairness.
Yeah, well, I guess I could understand that from the employee's point of view, and being a little old school in myself, coming from the days when we were not allowed to talk about that.
Right.
In fact, if you did, you were at risk of being fired.
That's right.
I definitely could understand, from someone's point of view, that's a way to prevent us from talking about fairness. Now, at the same time, Mike, I don't know about your family. But my family, growing up in an Italian American family, it was customary. You walk in, you'd see somebody maybe you haven't saw in a year, and they might go, "Hey, how much you making now?"
That's right.
Who bringing
Right.
in now? I mean, whether it was family or friends, I mean, that was not a question that was off the table. But we didn't discuss it at work.
That's
Now,
true. That's
tables
true.
have turned. Yes.
Well, my father, I come from a Polish background, and so my father always had to stop at what he called the gin mill on his way home from work. And when we was at the gin mill, that was always the topic of conversation. Okay, so what are you making these days? And he'd come back and he'd start saying, "Gosh darn it, I got to change work because I'm making far less than everybody else."
Yeah.
And the final thing on that other part about the old days was we actually had a policy where I worked that pay was confidential, which meant that if you spoke about pay, you breached confidential information, and that's how people were let go. So those days are long gone, of course.
And Mike, I know we're going to get into pay equity and transparency discussion here in a little bit. Nick, what else you got for us?
Number 23 on the list was companies offering 3% raises while inflation is 8%.
Ah,
Oh,
well, of
yeah.
course, yeah. Well, people forget the days when we gave 3% increases and we had 1% inflation. Oh, how do we deal with that? No.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point. But it is difficult, right? Employers are trying to manage their overall cost, and inflation is sometimes outpacing the merit increases. I know you're going to give us an insight today on those merit
Right.
trends. What SHRM and other organizations are predicting, and actually getting a look back and see what happened. But as we think about our auto workers, that's the fight that they're fighting right now, isn't it? I mean, they're saying, no, we want the full inflationary adjustment, as well as the compensation, considering the success of the organization.
That's right. Well, remember in 2022, there were a number of AIM members who provided what they called inflation bonuses to their employees, meaning they still held to a 3% pay adjustment, but they gave another 2% as a flat bonus amount to kind of help to reconcile the difference.
Yep, good point. Good point. Anything else, Nick?
Yes, we have, the part where I make $100 for my employer and he gives me 10 for my efforts.
Yeah. Now, Nick, be careful. Fred's listening to the program in the
Oh,
background.
no, I should have, no, I'm holding up quote. Hold on a second. I have my
Okay.
quotes going here. It was
Yeah.
some other employee.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I remember being a young engineer at one time and designing solutions that saved and prevented the company from spending a lot of money. And, I would get maybe $100 gift card and, a pat on the back, good old, that a boy, Phil, good job. And there was times in my mind, I'm like, that just did not quite seem fair to me. But in the end, that's why we're employed, is to contribute and do those things, unless it's part of your compensation model for sales teams and other incentives.
Right. And that's kind of ties into the way companies have been more transparent today on everything, including their finances. And so when you do that, obviously, then you need to be prepared to have that discussion of how you are tied into that.
Back to the auto workers, right? They're banging the table and they're saying, "Hey, you guys are making a lot of money at the top of this organization and for shareholders, and we want our portion of that."
Right.
Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, we do have one more if you'd like to go through it. Being gainfully employed without being able to even make basic ends meet.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something that I hear frequently. That makes me think. I first go to fast food restaurants, right?
Right.
First campaign was got to be $15 an hour. Now it's $20 an hour. And I don't know when the last time you went through and bought a Happy Meal is, but oh my goodness, don't buy two of them, right? It's that gets right passed on to us as the consumer, and
That's right.
somewhere in there it shifted from these are jobs for young people who are, in high school or maybe in college trying to earn a few extra bucks to this is my job, my career, my livelihood, and now I can't earn ends meet. And it just gets passed on. And that's a little bit of being out of whack, maybe with the labor pool shortage as well.
But I think we're starting to see where, forget state legal minimum wages. We're now seeing that $18, $20 an hour kind of living wage. And just because of supply and demand, in order to attract people, I think we're starting to see that catching up in a lot of areas.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link, aimea.org/This Week at Work, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.